Just kind of wanted to get some thoughts out about what happened at VidCon. A lot of what I had to say we already said in our shoe off head video. We're going to be uploading that pretty soon. But there's other stuff that I wanted to talk about that's not going to be in that video, and mostly it's going to be about, you know, the feminists and the social justice warriors and the politically correct people that I ended up meeting up with. And a lot of what we discussed is basically just we're all kind of trying to middle of the road this whole, you know, debate, the pro PC versus anti PC debate. And like a lot of what they say makes sense, and I mean I'm feeling a lot the same way too. Like, we have to maybe come to a certain understanding about how we have to conduct ourselves, at least in, you know, specific situations.
Couple of things there, Greg. A lot of what most people say makes sense. It's the shit that doesn't make sense that people tend to criticise. And secondly, we don't have to maybe come to an understanding with anyone about anything, especially when it's based on how you feel. And it's kind of difficult to know what you mean by specific situations unless you specify those specific situations.
I don't really like to consider myself a shitlord. I don't really associate with the shitlords so much. I don't really use that title much, but I suppose technically I am.
Okay, so you don't consider yourself a shitlord, you don't really associate with the shitlords, you don't use the shitlord title much, but technically you're a shitlord. I've got no fucking idea what you're talking about, mate. How can one tell if they're technically a shitlord? Like, Urban Dictionary's definition of shitlord is, amongst other things, an expression used by feminists to mock anyone who doesn't agree with their opinions. And this informative Reddit post says, it should be noted that shitlord is used ironically, and using it unironically makes you look extremely stupid. It's akin to using sheeple unironically. So how would you define shitlord, Greg?
A lot of what the shitlords do is defend being shitty people.
What? A lot of people refer to me as a shitlord, Greg. Would you say I'm a shitty person? You just said that technically you're a shitlord. Are you a shitty person? Like, are you saying that a shitlord is someone who defends the fact that they're a shitty person, or someone who defends people's right to be a shitty person? And what's a shitty person in your view?
And even though I'm not saying I disagree with that.
With what?
Like, yes, there's people are too thin-skinned about, you know, naughty language and insults and banter and stuff.
Wait, so if you meant that a shitlord defends people's right to be a shitty person, does this mean that naughty language and insults and fucking banter make someone a shitty person?
And I agree that there's a lot of oversensitivity on the feminist side, for sure. But if we legitimately want to get through to these people, if we legitimately want them to hear what we have to say.
To quickly clarify, to me it's less about getting through to these people and more about getting through to the people they might have sold their bullshit to had I not been present to counter their arguments. And based on the numbers, I'm quite pleased with how that's going.
If we want them to sit down with us and discuss these things and come to some sort of mutual understanding, perhaps we have to create, I hate to fucking use the word safe space, but, you know, some sort of respectful environment where we know that we as skeptics, as anti-SJWs or whatever, can go and sit down and we can explain our thoughts and explain our positions without being labeled a racist or a sexist or you know, a Nazi or whatever the fuck they like to call us. And they're not going to call our bosses and tell our boss that we're a racist or anything. But at the same time, that they can come and sit down with us and they're not going to get worried about being, you know, triggered. They're not going to worry about being insulted. They're not going to worry about feeling harassed in any way.
Greg, you know as well as I do that the thing that makes these people feel triggered and harassed is usually simple disagreement. I mean, for fuck's sake, you just got back from VidCon where Anita Sarkeesian felt harassed by the mere presence of certain people. Or a certain person anyway. Sargon of Akkad? Yeah? So what you're talking about here is a trade-off where in exchange for not calling you a racist Nazi cunt, you're not allowed to disagree with them. That's some world-class negotiation skill right there, mate. I mean, push them just that little bit harder and you might even get some magic beans out of them.
If we want our opinions to be heard, we have to go to the places where these people are. We have to sit down with them. We have to be respectful. We have to come to mutual terms. And I mean, like I said, we're never going to convince anybody.
Yeah, that's not true. We're never going to convince everybody, but anybody, Fuck off, I convince people all the time.
I'm not saying, like, stop making ponage videos or anything like that. Like, I've always defended those guys, even though I don't watch ponage channels. I don't like ponage channels. I don't like watching that kind of stuff. But, I mean, if you remember back when H3 went after Leafy, I was one of the first people to defend Leafy, saying, like, I don't like his stuff either, but, like, he deserves to exist. It's like, he's just as valid as the rest of us, even though we don't see any value in his work. It doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to exist. I said the same thing about Bering, and Bering used that against me.
And here's my biggest problem with you, Greg. You are completely full of shit. What you said was Bering bullies 12-year-old bedroom feminists. You even did a reenactment for us.
Hi guys, I think that women should get paid the same as men. And then they'll be like, you're wrong, they already are. Look how fucking stupid this person is.
So while you may have mentioned the fact that I have the right to exist, thanks by the way, this lie that you concocted about me bullying young bedroom feminists followed me around for a long time. Even now I come across the odd person with this preconceived notion that I'm YouTube's biggest asshole because of some shit that you spun.
You may have heard that Canada has an anti-Holocaust denial law. I hear this all the time, actually. It's usually mentioned to show how Canada has shown solidarity against anti-Semitism. The problem is that it's not strictly true. In fact, I've kind of spread this lie a little bit too.
Oh, don't worry. Nobody's gonna care about just one little lie by the time this video's done. But here's an interesting question. You say you spread that lie, and I have to ask, why? Didn't you bother to apply your skepticism to that claim, which I have to say sounds dubious enough on its face that it should raise an alarm with anyone? Hey, do you know what it takes not to spread lies about the law? Well, I'll tell you. It takes about 10 minutes on Google, which I think you should be able to spare when you're making videos for thousands of people. You're not just rambling drunkenly to your friends at the pub. You can put a little bit of effort in. And as we're going to see, although you know full well that your laziness, your total lack of research has resulted in you spreading lies, which you say you think is a bad thing, you still show absolutely no sign at all of having learned your lesson.
There are no explicit laws prohibiting Holocaust denial or revisionism in Canada. The reason Canada is usually listed with these other countries is because Canada has a habit of finding any excuse to put Holocaust deniers' heads on pikes to send a message, usually by charging publishers of such material with unrelated offenses regarding publishing lies or other such laws.
Okay, interesting claim. Citation? Citation? Citation, please.
That was from a Logicked video published the other day, and it's just another example of Greg making bogus claims without backing them up. You should watch it, there's a link in the description. So I guess the moral of the story is fuck you, Greg, eat a dick. By the way, I'm still a big fan and watch all your videos. They are getting better, but they're still nowhere near like 2015 Armoured Skeptic. Anyway, say hi to June for me. Cheerio.
Recession, session!